Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. I'm on Nioh 3. With our early access, I wanted to make a video to talk about the opening section of the game and how to get strong quickly. This includes locations of important powers and unlocks you'll absolutely want, but a lot of this comes down to unlocking the right things early and maximizing the actual gameplay for samurai and ninja specifically, involving elements and maximizing the many passive systems that the game has. This will put you in a really strong position though, is well worth understanding. So let's begin. So starting with Samurai and how to power up very quickly, let's just immediately look at the passives that I think you need to immediately pick up. The very first thing you want to unlock is obviously deflect, which is basically perfect parrying. Then you unlock your high stance and your low stance for the different movesets. Then obviously depending on the stance that you're in, you have access to different attacks, which you can further customize, which obviously can become quite overwhelming if you first look at it without much thought. For the moment, let's just keep it simple. You want to unlock Flux, Flux 2, and then at very least Frost Moon Heaven and Frost Moon Humanity. I recommend this as a priority. All Flux is changing your stance from one to another at the moment that you pulse, and you just get more ki for it. Flux 2 is swapping from one stance to another then another in that moment by kind of gliding across the buttons. So as I attack, I ki pulse to get stamina back, but instead of just ki pulsing, I also swap my stance. But then Flux 2, I do a double swap in that moment. But it becomes kind of awesome when you go into Frost Moons, which give you special follow-up attacks. The medium stance one is actually a deflect, so like an auto parry. And then the Frost Moon Heaven one is just a heavy attack, and it seems to have armor, as it says grants immunity to staggering. So you're hitting that attack, pretty cool. So at the end of a heavy attack on high stance, I just go for a high stance transfer, even though I'm already in high stance, and that triggers that Frost Moon follow-up attack. Then if I'm in medium stance, I try to swap to medium stance, and it does that auto deflect. But those are very important unlocks. The other thing that I need to make sure you're doing is using battle scrolls as a sign. By speaking with the 3 NPCs in the hub, once you've got that unlocked, you'll initially unlock the novice version of Warrior Ninja and Onmyo. Then at the start of Act 2, you get the next one, and the next act, and the next one, and so on. These give you important unlocks for a lot of the case you can literally see right now. So on this save in this moment, I can't unlock this skill because I haven't done Way of the Warrior Veteran yet on this save. That's what this is going to unlock for weapon specific stuff, and also, more in the case of Ninja, the style unlocks as well. But now let's talk about Art's Proficiency, because this is key to being strong on Samurai, which is basically this circle that builds up at the bottom right. As you can see, it's that white circle and it's flashing. If I swap stance, you can also track it as a ninja. You see the circle there, it's just a bit smaller on the side. Anyway, the point is that it's going to give this glowing effect to different attacks, and they show you this in the tutorial, but there's a key thing that I wasn't making use of for a little bit too long that I wanted to show you. So you can see it in the tutorial. Basically, he builds it up and now he's ready to use it. So he uses a special attack and then combos it into another. The point is you can quote unquote infinitely chain these into follow-ups, enhancing all of them with that white glow. Why is that really important if you're going to play Samurai properly? Well, your Art's Proficiency enhances your strong attacks and martial arts. The activation attack costs no ki, so no stamina. Then all damage dealt is increased, and then ki consumption is decreased as well. So basically all of your attacks you're dealing more damage, and it costs less stamina, allowing you to combo longer, which you want to combo as long as possible because they can be used consecutively. Now admittedly, it's a bit awkward to show in the training area and combat in general because they don't let you mess around with it very well. I can pick this up and then it immediately begins to drain. It only stays when I'm actively in combat. So to build it up, you can just straight up guard, you can deal damage, you can also perfect deflect, so there's lots of ways to actually build it up. So once I use it on a strong attack or martial art, you're going to see this white glow effect. So it's going to do a lot more damage. And also in this case with a triple combo, costs no stamina. But the important thing is it can be comboed. Our goal is to extend it as long as possible. So one really easy way to do that is just use Frost Moons. So if I'm in high stance and doing a pulse, I can just do a heavy to pull out that Frost Moon like so. Or say with medium stance, we can pull out the deflect follow-up and that will be enhanced, extending the combo. Then we can go into a different martial art. To see how we might combo that for whatever weapon and setup you've got, go to Customize Martial Arts. And all of these work. So we have Redux, which I just showed, that triple fast combo. I could do a heavy after a quick attack, or I could even do retrograde flow water. And in between that, I've got my Frost Moons. So a combo without that arts looks like this. I can do a martial art by doing a light into a heavy, then of course key pulse that, then we'll go into the heavy triangle combo, maybe key pulse that, then go into the quick and then the heavy, but I've run out of stamina. So let's use it against a stronger enemy just to show you the onslaught that it is. As you can see, I'm still going and it's dead. So it never even got to attack me. I absolutely eviscerated it, and I'm even key pulsing in between the combo, of course, to extend it, which cleanses the yokai realm while I was going. But then you start to weave in the concept of something like elements, which is insane, as we'll talk more about in the ninja section, so don't skip that. But there are ways to enhance your arts with element, and that's important. Retrograde flow water is a really important one because it's going to apply the water debuff, which means targets take 20% more damage. So these combos are going to be stronger. So I want to open with something that applies an element, ideally water, to make them take more damage from the rest of the combo. So you saw how I was smashing that yokai with the other combo to extend it. Here's the difference when I actually use water at the start of it as well. It's already dead, by the way. It's crazy. So the simple difference here is using a single art on your proficiency or using as many as you can per trigger. It is a massive difference in increasing your samurai output because you're making your stamina go a lot further and you're dealing a lot more damage while you do it. Obviously, it's not true infinite because if you get hit, you lose your art's proficiency. And when you're just blindly attacking, of course, eventually you're going to be interrupted. But it's always that moment where you should just go for the longest combo possible to enhance your samurai gameplay. On the other hand, then we have ninja, which is arguably easier to play and learn because it's just a lot simpler. You don't have all the stances. And you can just kind of do spam fast combos and lean into element. It's honestly one of the best ways to get strong quick, so I recommend it. For unlocks for ninja, it's pretty straightforward, but there are some things I want to highlight. So obviously you want perfect evade, much like you want to unlock deflect for samurai. Perfect evade allows you to evade at the last moment, restoring ki instead of spending it. But beyond that, go through footstool jump, which allows you to get some aerial gameplay by bouncing off people, which is fun, but mainly mid-air dodge. This is useful in combat, sure, but you know, a lot of the verticality and the exploration in this game, you're able to do that thanks to a double jump. Well, if you jump, dash, and then double jump, you get to extend that distance while you're in the air, allowing you to traverse areas in the open world easier. So outside of combat, you want that. Through ninjutsu, you can access elements, and this is extremely important. Something simple like fire breath you can easily unlock early will allow you to instantly kill most slimes in the game because they're extremely weak to it. Through Onmyo magic, as we'll talk about, I also access lightning, which allows us to absolutely destroy water-type enemies, so your crabs are super vulnerable to that. So thinking about unlocking elements is important. For ninja, the easy access to fire is flame breath, but there are going to be later options that are going to be a lot more reliable, such as infernal calamity, or for really fast fire application, fire shuriken. Your simple goal as a ninja, obviously dependent on the weapon, is to combo attacks into a target as much as possible by absolutely spamming them. This can be done with ground combos, but also something simple like standing in the air and doing an aerial combo. All I did there, by the way, was jump and hold triangle. That's how easy it is, so it's kind of insane with ninja how easy it is. Misting is important though. Obviously you press R1 after an attack to mist. With tonfa, I have a unique one that's shorter range, better invulnerability, and allows me to access new combos, which is why I have that. But it's a bit different by default. So if I swap weapon, we can actually see that. I attack and I dodge and I attack and I dodge. The goal is to go behind the target because you want to be backstabbing them for increased damage. But to really enhance the very fast attacks of ninja, I recommend elements. There are different ways to access elements, such as Onmyo magic weapon buffs. So now I'm dealing fire on my weapons. Pretty cool. Weapons can also have imbue element. So here I have like an ailment, paralysis, but this could instead say imbue fire or water or whatever. Other ways to access elements are your ninjutsu, like that fire breath we just talked about. But say another easy access one is water bubbles, just shooting water bubbles. The damage that we're dealing with these doesn't really matter. You can see this when you look at the target, so I'm burning that target and they have these icons. He died so quick. Fire means they take damage over time, which really builds up especially if you lean into it. Whereas if you hit them with water, they get a different debuff. One that just means they take more damage while it's applying. You can see it on them. They take 20% more damage while they're affected by water. So obviously that's a really good thing to apply before doing a big hit or a combo. There's also something called confusion though, where you have two different debuffs on them and they become confused. This starts to really affect their ki, meaning you can stagger and punish them more often. So an obvious example, as you can see here that I've got it set up on my ninjutsu, is having a water source and a fire source, applying both for damage over time, make them take more damage, and it messes with their ki. But obviously there are other sources. There's say lightning for its own debuff, which slows their attack speed and movement by the way. There's earth to muddy them. They take way more ki damage there. Wind when they're blustered, reduces their physical attack power so you take less damage. It's still useful. So if you've got 2 on the target, you're pretty happy, even if it's not ideally fire and water. To make this stronger, you support it through your equipment. So you've got armor passives, but another example would be your accessories. Here we have accumulation of burn. This means that I apply the burn status so much faster as I support it more and more. Or I could just straight up increase the damage of the water or fire that I'm doing by supporting that too. You also have your guardian passives in that way too. So fire damage is up here. And you've got your yang slot for your summon through Onmyo magic. So in this case, I have a weapon that's building paralysis, so I support it by using a specific summon that helps me get paralysis procs faster. So overall, Ninja is really good at applying elements through many attacks. Next up, your leveling and weapon choices. Firstly, for leveling, I just want you to be aware of soft caps. A hard cap is when you can't get any more from it, so 99. But soft caps are when you start to lose value per investment. So say Constitution here, initially at 5 Constitution, I'm going from 1010 health to 1050 health. That's 40 more. But then on the next level up, I'm not getting another 40 to go to 90, it's going to 80. So I'm only getting 30 there. That's the first soft cap. So all it is really is losing value per level investment. You're not getting as much per level as before. Outside of that concept then, what should you be leveling? I strongly recommend you start with Constitution. Don't over-invest in it, but you want enough to the point where you're not dying uncomfortably quick. You get hit like twice and that's it. Once you're happy, you don't need to invest in it more. You can get it from other sources. I want you to consider from your main damage source what your weapon scales with. You can see where my weapons that I've got equipped are outlined in red, and then what strength actually affects, as highlighted by the yellow. So all the weapons I've currently got equipped are all scaling with strength. After that, we think more about function and breakpoints. Having more heart means you've got more stamina, which allows for more attacks, dodges, or otherwise, which is important with a big weapon that consumes more stamina. Then for breakpoints, you just think about gear. Leveling your actual stamina here increases weight capacity, so better armor without being affected by weight. And intellect and magic can be useful for reaching breakpoints. Maybe I need 9 skill to equip certain armor and it actually works. Accessories often want, say, 6 intelligence. Onmyo magic wants more magic levels. And in fact, you can see down here at the yin positions, I would have more slots for spells if I invested more in magic. For Onmyo magic, you just come to manage soul cores, of course, at a shrine, then go Onmyo box. You have your yang position and your yin. Yang is basically just the summon, but importantly, you get special bonuses here, passives. So I have a paralysis weapon, so I've got this specific demon summon because it's going to increase the speed at which I generate paralysis. Other examples do exist though. Let's say I'm doing aerial attack specifically. Well, this one would help me build aerial ki damage. You just support the playstyle you're going for. The summon itself can be really useful though. So in this case, we have the thunder attack here, a great way to apply lightning and a really early one you can get from the merchants. This one's the one that's giving me my self buff, giving my weapons fire, which is really useful. There's also damage buff talismans to increase your attack power. So I do recommend a relatively early investment into magic to get 2 or 3 slots and have these buffs going or applying elements to targets. For armor, I generally recommend you equip the highest defense while managing your way. In this case, I've got sub 60% to allow my agility stat to be more reliable. So you can see I've got agility B grade. This affects the ki consumption when attacking and dodging. The next breakpoint above 60% is 70%, so if I swap to samurai, you'll see that I'm a bit heavier, and we're just under 70%. That's what I recommend. Otherwise, you just take a look at the defense stat and put on whatever's strongest. The passive special effects could be useful and relevant to your build, but it's not something to worry about early game. Very early, you also unlock the hub here. Even in the demo, we have this, and you have the blacksmith over here. She can use dissemble to break down equipment that you have to get obtainable materials, which you then use to forge. This allows you to craft specific weapons if you have a focus on one. But much more relevant is soul matching, which allows you to take a piece of equipment and raise its level, which as you can see, increases its attack. This is in exchange for soul cores though, which you now get by soul extracting. You get this very early in the game, She gives you a side quest when you speak with her by coming over to this area, and the icon's over here at the post. You just go grab the item and bring it back to her, and now you can do that soul upgrading. As I mentioned earlier, there's a succubus summon that's really good. But if you put her slot into the yin position, you get the Oasis talisman. What this is an incredibly potent self-heal, but it's also minorly AoE. A little circle that if anyone stands in it, they get healing. And as you can see, I'm getting 86 a tick, and the ticks are happening constantly. This works as 5 extra heals that will give you a lot of health, or you and your ally if you're playing multiplayer. If you use her as a summon though, she literally stuns the target with paralysis, which you can break with a big hit or start a strong combo, take a moment to heal, whatever. It's been majorly helpful in boss fights for me, and you can summon her twice. So whichever way you use her soul call for, she's really good. And she's another one you can unlock really early in the game. Bring yourself down to Maisaka here, and as you follow this path around, you find the Haunting Caves, which is surprisingly dense. When you finally make it to the end of the Haunting Caves though, you'll find a succubus boss that, yes, is a callback to Nioh 1. You get her core, and that's where you get these awesome soul core uses. Alright, last couple of things I want to mention for strength early on is things like your skills. You have common, samurai, and ninja specific. One of the early ones you can get is Enduring Destruction, which increases the damage you deal to targets you just burst broke, which you'll do all the time. If you're doing a lot of samurai focus, I recommend versatility. You use different martial arts and apply a versatility stack. Each stack means you deal more damage to them. So the longer you're fighting one using different attacks, yeah, it really kicks ass. But it is a mastery skill, so you can only have one of those. So a great alternative you also get early is Awakening, so you can cast magic faster, apply your element debuffs. I don't have any great options for samurai, to be honest, but I do like Roaring Dragon Deflect. I now deal better element damage to targets, which is obviously important. There's a lot of great ones with ninja though, like empowering my next martial art after using a physical type ninjutsu. So I throw a kunai, then I'll just swap to my samurai to use my martial art that's now empowered. Wrathful Dragon's another good example. Increased element damage after you use any ninjutsu. I could use a ninjutsu to apply that element damage. There's also obvious ones like increased damage through Final Blow and Grapple, or just straight up attack mastery for increased attack. For the Kodama Blessings, just make sure you're taking increased damage when you drink an elixir, like an attack buff basically. And of course there is the pretty all over the place titles concept, so you get bonuses when you do different things. So I can increase the key damage I deal with basic melees or arts. Same thing for ninja basically. But importantly with something like subjugation, you can increase your element damage. Or with collection, you can literally increase martial art damage as well as luck if you are farming rare items. So you can turn these up and down whenever you like. So yes, there are tons of ways in the very early game to enhance your output. Maximizing element debuffs and combo attacks through ninja, or using your proficiency to do infinite powerful combos for minimal key cost. Flowing between them is really fun and rewarding, but obviously a lot to learn. So just sticking to one and getting really good with it, like a samurai focus, or for a lot of us, a ninja focus because it's just straight up easier, it's going to be a great way to get powerful early. I hope this video gave you a lot to think about and helps you feel stronger with your decisions. If it did, do drop a like, and I'll be back for more guides like this in the near future. Until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.